Hey Scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, which means it's our time for our weekly report on YouTube and on Facebook. What are we going to talk about today? Market news, market updates, what you should expect at your scrapyard, and how you can make more money with your scrap. Follow me, let's go talk scrap. Have questions about scrap? Time to ask them now. Let's go.
At rrcats.com, we have everything that you need to sell your catalytic converters. We have an easy quoting system that you can send pictures or serial numbers to. We have the ability to get your cats graded within 1 business day. You'll get quick payment via PayPal or check. If you look at our Google reviews and our other online reviews, you will feel confident with the team at rrcats.com to be able to purchase your catalytic converter time and time again. We look forward to earning your business at rrcats.com today.
Hey Scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021, and I'm super pumped to have you here because why wouldn't I be? I like talking about scrap. My wife doesn't like hear me talking about scrap, but hopefully you do because that's pretty much all I talk about during the day. So if you're watching us live, by all means ask us any single question that you'd like to. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to answer it, but you're always allowed to ask, especially if they're scrap related questions. We definitely want to answer those because we've been having a lot of people through our Patreon supporters asking us questions through there. And because they're supporting the iScrap app, we've been able to give them answers that we haven't given to everyone. So if you're looking to get answers and knowledge on scrap, you can always become a Patreon supporter. And right now, if you sign up throughout the rest of the month, this awesome DeWalt reciprocating saw could be yours for one lucky new Patreon supporter that's going to join us. So we're super pumped to have this going on. We're going to have lots of tool giveaways for the rest of 2021. So without further ado, let's start talking about scrap. Now, here we are. We're in a really super market right now. While we've had a few downswings the last few days, overall, we're really in a good place. Now, if you're on YouTube and you want to ask us some questions that are going to really, post it up there, you can join the Super Chat. Through Super Chat, you can ask questions, and I will talk about those comments as long as I can until another person asks a question and maybe outbids you. And from there, we'll be able to give you more information through the new feature on our YouTube channel through the Super Chat feature. Now, over the last week and a half, while we didn't do our report live last week, let me tell you what's happened. 2 Fridays ago, on July 23rd, and then on Monday, July 26th, we saw 2 awesome increases in the copper markets, jumping it about 25 cents a pound overall. Now, that was really awesome to see, and it was unexpected, and there was a few different reasons behind it, which I talk about in this week's weekly report. One of the reasons, there's a threat coming from the Chilean miners about having a, my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? A strike. Strike. They're talking about striking. And if they strike, the Chilean mines produce 5% of the world's new copper, right? So if they strike, what you're going to see happen is a couple of different things, and it's really interesting. You'll probably see the copper prices jump, and that was one of the reasons we did see that quick 25-cent jump about a week and a half ago. Now, since that jump happened, we haven't actually seen the strike take place, but we have seen all 25 of those cents dissipated. They're gone, gonzo. We are today at the same level that we were about 2 weeks ago. So it just shows you how, while we're inside of our little micro scrapping bubbles sometimes, just trying to get a car winched onto a trailer, it's so important for you to remember that there are lots of other things going on throughout the world. And one of the things that I've really tried to teach over the last 6 months, not only to new team members here at iScrap, Rockaway Recycling, and RR Cats, but also through the iScrap app, different channels, is that the commodities that you scrap every day, these aren't just local commodities, steel, aluminum, copper. These are things that are used throughout the entire world. And when you're dealing with worldwide economics, which is exactly what this is, money, right? If you can trade copper in for cash, then you're talking about economics. So when you're dealing with worldwide economics and worldwide trading, worldwide commodities, it brings you into something so much bigger than just a day-to-day scrap. And one of the questions that I've seen repeated hundreds of times over the last few years from scrappers through our social networks are, hey, maybe if we all band together and we don't sell our scrap, the prices will go up. That ain't gonna happen, people. That will never happen unless you produce, I don't know, 1,000 tons of scrap a week. If you do, give me a call. I want to be you today. Maybe we can switch places and we can figure out how I can scrap 1,000 tons a week, because I don't know anyone that gets close to that, right? I do know a few people, but they're very large scrap yards that own multiple yards, right? So when you're dealing with these commodities, tradings, right, you have to look at way more than just your local market, more than your regional market, more than your US or Canadian based markets. You need to look at the worldwide system. What's going on around the world that's going to affect a lot of these prices? So we know that there's going to be questions coming. So if you have any questions, by all means, go either through our super chat feature, just ask us our regular questions, and we'll start talking about those and addressing some of those answers right now. But it's going to be really hard for scrappers to band together to really push up the price because it's not a union. You guys aren't working in unison. You don't have a network other than talking back and forth. And the amount of scrappers that would really have to pull together would probably equal like 30% of the day's scrap. Because other than that, it's really going to be impossible. I have a demo friend that does large scrap jobs. And on any given day, his trucks can run between 50 and 150 tons of steel when he's really up and rolling. So think about yourself on a day-to-day. On a good day, maybe you run 5,000 pounds of steel if you're a full-time scrapper, which is a whole nother thing that I got a little bit involved in. And I'm not a social media guy where I respond to a lot, but I saw some comments that I did want to talk about. So unless you have a lot of people that can band together to save thousands of tons a day, it's going to be really hard to impact the scrap market on your own. But by learning about what's going on in the scrap market, you'll help yourself make more money. And then by talking to other people, you're going to help yourself learn more things. We have a couple of questions. Let's get right to them.
Do lithium batteries have any value and can they be sold?
Oh gosh, lithium batteries have value. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. They can be sold, but they also might have to be, you might have to pay to get rid of them. I was just talking to a couple of guys down in the RR Cats department a few minutes ago about this exact subject of lithium batteries. And the lithium market's really interesting because while everyone wants these EV vehicles and charging stations everywhere, the recycling network is not even close to as ready as the new lithium production network. And that's a problem. A couple of things that we've seen. Fires popping up, not just in cars, but also in those e-cigarettes. Those are little lithium batteries. When you throw those into the garbage when you're done with them and they go to the dump, fires are starting across the world in these different dumps due to these lithium batteries. And while so many people in Washington, D.C. want to push the EV market and the clean energy, things that they're missing is how much energy is consumed just to produce one lithium ion battery. I watched a video from another company called Prager, and Prager University likes to show people things that they don't normally talk about. And I've been saying this for a while, and I found the video finally. My dad and I were looking at it the other day, and it just shows how much output needs to be put into mining for the lithium batteries. And it's so incredible when we come up with some statistics that we'll procure from these videos. It really is going to open your eyes, and we'll probably just share the video because it's so interesting. It's going to open your eyes on how hard it is to mine the different metals to produce the EV batteries. And unless they come up with a better system, many of these auto manufacturers that are talking about, I know Cadillac, for instance, says that they want to have all of their cars be electrified by 2035. I call BS on that, because the amount of materials that are going to have to be mined just for that one automaker, it doesn't exist right now. And forget about having companies like Tesla and Nikola out there already producing batteries, right? Tesla is the world's largest EV producer. They have the world's largest chain of batteries out in Nevada that are, taking all the solar and bracing and harnessing and selling it here, there, and everywhere. We're not close to a full scope. And there's so many variables going on. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens with these lithium batteries over the next few years. Another question.
So back to copper. So should I hold my copper or sell now?
Oh, sell your copper. Don't even think about holding it. I mean, all right. If I told you a year ago when the markets were like $250 per pound, hey guys, if you wait 1 year and you can make like 50 to 70% more money, would you do it? Everyone would be like the bobbing heads on the front of cars. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Sell. Don't be greedy. If you already have it, we're talking about a market that's about 50 cents below the all-time record high. But that all-time record high only existed for less than a day and hasn't been touched since. We saw that increase 2 weeks ago of the 25 cents. And if you were a Patreon supporter, you would have known that really quickly, because that's what we do. We inform people when the markets are moving. And it's really hard for scrappers because you're not on your phones looking at a lot of these different commodity swings and news outlets that we're looking at here at iScrap. We're constantly combing the web for articles from any walk of life that's going to give us a little input into the markets. And that's why we try to do this once a week to teach you what's going on. Sell your copper. Now's the time. Yeah, question.
I see nickel and carbide are struggling. Is this a small pickup, or will the downward trend continue until next spring? And what factors are keeping it depressed?
Awesome question. Nickel markets are actually beginning to rebound, and you're going to start to see that with some of the prices that are getting reported. And speaking about prices that are getting reported, before I answer the rest of your question, I think that next week we have the new iScrap app coming out. I sound like that creepy guy that was on the microphone talking about $1.7 trillion. But anyway, I know that the markets are a little down for nickel, but what I have seen is stainless markets have started to recover. We saw some reported prices for 316 stainless between 70 and 80 cents, which is really very strong. We saw the 304 markets also recovering. I think those national averages are in the 50 to 52 cent range. And carbide, I just talked to a major buyer of carbide yesterday afternoon around 4 p.m. Eastern. And for the first time in about a month, they really did a nice price increase of about 8%. One of the things that they said that they're struggling with is not getting material in, but it's the manufacturers being able to produce enough. Different carbide tooling manufacturing companies are gearing themselves up to be making more tips, more drill bits, not only for normal machine shop use, but also gearing up for this potential new infrastructure deal that's going to be happening this fall, which of course we'll be talking about and how it's going to affect the scrap industry in the coming weeks and months. But with the carbide market starting to pick itself up, we've started to see some prices going higher than $7 per pound. The national average is in the $5.50 range. And you say, Tom, how is there such a swing? Well, there are some places in the country. I have some friends that don't buy carbide, and they might buy it if someone's really desperate to sell it, and they'll give them something silly like $3 a pound because the guy has it in his truck. He wants to get it out, and the buyer would rather just sell it to someone like Rockaway Recycling to be able to make a quick buck. But right now, with the national carbide averages in that 560 range for the scrapping side of things, we expect those numbers to be jumping over $6 by September, just based off of some of the news that I've been reading. So hopefully that gives you a little better idea on the nickel and the carbide markets. Now, other markets we'd like to talk about, of course, I'm going to talk about our cats, baby. Meow, meow, meow. We're going to talk about some of the prices where we've seen them faltering a little bit. Platinum, for instance, down like 20% from the highs that we saw throughout 2021. Rhodium prices are down 30% from the highs that we saw this year. Palladium prices are not as deep, but they still aren't as high as they were. We saw them in that 28 to 2,900 ounce range, and now we're in the 2,600 ounce range. But what we have seen is a stabilization. You'll see something like this coming out later where we'll have a quick picture, right? We've seen prices looking good because they've been stable, and that's cool with me. We've seen the catalytic converter prices hold themselves at solid ground for about 3 weeks. That's really good news because we want to see a stable market. What do I say all the time? Someone just asked us, should I sell my copper? Yes. If you asked me yesterday, the answer would be yes. If you ask me tomorrow, the answer will be yes. We sell every single day at Rockaway Recycling, and many of my friends that speculate on materials, listen, they can make a lot of money, but they have to hold things for a long time. But they can also lose a lot of money if they're holding things for too long, because what happens is greed kicks itself in. Don't be greedy. Get material in, especially when catalytic converter values have still doubled in the last 18 months. Don't sit here and squeeze every ounce of juice from the fruit. Leave a little pulp in there. Throw it to someone for them to eat. Everyone needs to make money, and when you try to get every single penny, every single dollar from what you're selling, you're never going to be happy. And happiness is going to be the key to good scrapping and safe scrapping. And that's going to be one of the things that we also start to push the second half of this year. Scrapping safe. So many people post pictures online, how they load their trailers, different things that they use. And we said, you know what? We want to highlight these things. We want to highlight when people are doing things right. So if you are out there scrapping, I don't care if it's part-time, I don't care if it's full-time. If you're out there hustling your scrap tail off, let us know. Send us your pictures of how you secure your loads. And we might enter you into our own safety contest where we're going to start giving away different gear, gloves, and different work belts, along with super cool tools if you become a Patreon supporter, because we have all types of DeWalt products coming up in the next few months that you're going to want to get your hands on, and we want you to get them. So by learning about the markets, learning about safety, learning about materials, and learning that you can't make every dollar on every pound, but learning what you can make and how you can make it, these are going to be some of the things that help you become a better business person, a better scrapper, and help you to learn from others' mistakes so you don't make them yourselves. Now, elsewhere, we have a fun little thing we started a few weeks ago of what's in the bucket, right? So today we got our iScrap branded bucket. I promise you, pinky promise, I have not looked. Let's pull it out and let's talk about whatever is in here so we can feel. All right, I'm going to feel it. I have my guess of what it is.
You have 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to talk about this item for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to get cut off so I, like our leader, don't get in trouble from my people too. Today, we're going to talk about copper yolks. I know exactly what it is just by feeling it because I've touched so many of these. Now, these copper yolks come out of things like TVs. They come out of monitors. And you're going to say to yourself, Tom, how do I get them? And is it worth getting them? Now, old CRT monitors that have lead dust inside, we highly recommend not taking them apart, even though you have a nice piece of degaussing wire going around them and these yolks inside, because if you crack that monitor, you might release some toxins into the air, some lead dust could get out there. That's not only unhealthy for your lungs, but also for the Earth's lungs. So if you do take these apart, what we do recommend, do not sell them like this. This is really nice copper inside. It's generally enameled. You might not be able to see by the lighting, but it has a little bit of a red hue to it, where copper generally has a pink hue to it. That would make it a number 2. How you would take this apart? Well, most people are going to tell you a sledgehammer, and honestly, I can't disagree if you're at your home. We have a question on these? Let's do it.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute left? Oh, no. All right. So if I was at home, of course, I'd have safety glasses on, I'd have gloves on, and I have these kind of in a secure area so pieces don't go all over the place. I wouldn't just hit this on the top, because that means that pieces would be breaking off of it like this, and you don't want to create more work for yourself. But by having it and pounding it down with the end of the sledgehammer, you actually will break it and it won't scatter as much. And from there, you can pull the copper out. But if you have a better way to take this copper out, let us know and we'll feature you in one of our posts in the coming weeks. Now that we're done with what's in the bucket, let's talk about what's going on in the steel market, which we have unfortunately seen some of the steel prices drop like 40 to 50 bucks a ton since the beginning of July. Well, Tom, when are the markets going to go up? Let me just answer that question for you. If I knew that, we'd be in a full production studio with 6 different cameras panning me from different angles, because I would be able to predict the future. I can't, but I did hear rumblings that we are expecting an increase in September, and that's really reliant on people going back to work, getting out of the summer doldrums, where traditionally the month of August, we do see some of the prices decrease, although the aluminum prices have been increasing. So I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But with oil prices remaining high, with production going up for manufacturing, steel is still highly coveted. For example, I use steel banding at Rockaway Recycling. Our prices have tripled in the last few months, and we just spent like more than I'd like to say out loud on banding that we used to get for $600-700. It's down to thousands of dollars per order, because the markets have gone up. So while it's bad for the retail side of things, it's going to be better going into the fall for the scrapping side of things. Now, before you ask me the question of, Tom, should I hold it until September? No. Enjoy the prices where they're still very high. National light iron prices in like the $160 range. Cash that scrap in, okay? Don't hold on to it. Get it in, get it out, and don't forget what your time is worth. Every time you have to load something, it costs you time, which means it costs you money. Every time you need to unload something, it costs you time, which means it costs you money. So if you have to load, unload, and reload in the future, you will have a problem. And one of the posts that I saw on social recently, we had someone get fined from their town because they had too much junk throughout their yard. Don't be that guy. If you don't have permission to store stuff, do you really think that your neighbor is going to want Sanford & Sons in their backyard? I don't think so. So unless you have a big property to store stuff in a really environmentally friendly way, we suggest getting on the trailer and getting it right out. I actually do a couple cool things for some of my customers where they are everyday scrappers. And I know that if I drop a dumpster at their house or at their smaller business, they can fill it up every 2 to 3 weeks. And we're good with that, because you guys know that when you get repeat work from HVAC guys, electricians, or just general contractors, you always make more money in the long term than you do in the short term. So just think about that when you're out there scrapping and you're getting ready to complain about some of the prices. Now, scrappers, we want to answer your questions, whether it's through our new feature on YouTube of Super Chat, whether it's becoming a Patreon supporter and, again, entering yourself to win cool DeWalt reciprocating saws and other tools. We most importantly want to answer your questions. Next week, we have our new iScrap app 2.0 coming out. You're going to have all new ways to learn how to make more money with your scrap. And by using the iScrap app and giving us your feedback, we're going to continue to give you more ideas, more benefits, and more ways for you to learn about the industry in a big picture instead of in a small picture. Scrappers, my name is Tom, and today is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. I loved answering your questions, and next week we hope to answer more. Any other questions between now and then, let us know. But until next week, I'll scrap you later.